It's one thing to watch a bunch of YouTube, but we wanted to offer another way for people to get the information that they need so that they have a chance to be successful. If you only did that, like we call it, the quarterly call, you hit your top 150 people in your database 4 times a year, you're going to sell a ton of houses. It's hard not to. God, I've heard that a million times. Can't you tell me something new? No. Until you're doing the basics, I'm not going to tell you anything new.
The second chapter of the book is titled Own Your Mindset, Own Your Future. You kind of lay that out as the foundation for success is based around your mindset. What kind of specific habits or daily disciplines did you believe separate those who survive from those who thrive in their first year?
I kind of feel like those are connected, but maybe different too. So I'm going to separate them.
Please.
Every book that Gary and I have written, and he's the one who really, really helped me articulate this. I saw this in my earlier career in publishing. If you bookend big success in anything, it's going to start with mindset and it's going to end with accountability. And so much so that there was even a couple of times like, do we have to say it again? But it's true. You have to keep saying it and we have to keep hearing what we need to hear. Because sometimes we don't hear it until we really need to hear it. I can tell you, like writing those mindset chapters, I was like, man, I've done this 7 times. Do we really have to say this again? But we do. I think that mindset is important. I think the most successful people I know still suffer from imposter syndrome every day. And so magnify that as a new agent, right? Hey, I'm not good enough. Everybody's already got an agent. We all can look around the corner and see someone who's doing it better than we are, and we can start getting in our head. So I think new agents need to know just some basic equipment, treat it like a business, right? Is one of them, right? That this is a business venture. It's not a hobby. Like what are some of the mindset tools that we can give them so they can get out of their way? Because I really do believe in the inner outer. Like what starts on the inside is what manifests on the outside. And they have to learn to believe in themselves and know that everybody else is feeling the same things.
I love that. And one thing I was listening to Mel Robbins, her Let Them Theory book, which is really, really good. She was talking about comparison. And what I think what I'm hearing from you here is if you compare yourself and say, oh, I'm not that guy or I'm not this guy, rather than comparing myself, say, hey, how can I take what Jay's doing and make it mine and make it better and make it work for me? Would that be fair?
Yeah. I interviewed Jenny Wood on the One Thing podcast. She wrote a book called Wild Courage.
That's great, by the way.
Yeah. And she just said, like, stop being jealous and just steal their blueprint. How would that work for me? And you've been a part of our first domino conversations, Tony, and you've heard Jordan say it. And this is our head coach, my last coach, Jordan. We all start off and it's always awkward, right? There's very few people who get the gift of being pretty good in the beginning. And there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect or the Kruger-Dunning effect. I always forget which way it goes. Basically, the worse you are at something, the better you're likely to believe you are. And the better you are at something, the worse you're likely to believe you are. And it comes to this journey, the path to mastery. As we get better and better, we see even more nuance in what we do. We start to pick up on all the little mistakes that when we were new, we couldn't even see. Right? And so it's a paradoxical thing that the better you are, the more likely you are to be critical of your performance. And so there's 2 elements. If you're looking at someone else, you need to change the comparison. Let's not compare ourselves to Gary Keller, okay? None of us. But we can also then flip it around and, as Jordan would say, I wonder how good I'll be when I've done this 100 times. I've done this 150 times. Because we're just on a journey and change the frame. Yes, this is where I am, but I wonder how good I'll be in a couple of months. And it's the same sort of thing that we would want to say to our kids, but we've got to learn to say it to ourselves.
And what we say to ourselves is so important because we hear the good and the bad. With this book, you interviewed over 250 top agents. Was there something surprising or even a counterintuitive habit that you came across that said, wow, I mean, this is crazy, or, the silver bullet, or maybe it's nothing new?
It's kind of the latter.
Yeah.
The pattern that we heard again and again is that they were focusing on really fundamental skills that scale for your whole career. And I think that in the beginning, a lot of new agents get mediocre advice. I'm not going to say bad advice. We see them fiddling with their websites. They see, spending a lot of time trying to perfect a lot of social media, which it can be a great free resource for a new agent, when they probably be better served doing a little bit of conversation and dialogue role play every morning and going and sitting in open house every day. The problem with a lot of the things that make us successful is they can feel a little boring and beneath us. And we just have to step beyond that. I know a lot of experienced agents that should be sitting open houses because there's very few combinations that allow you to be in the path of people that are farther down the buying and selling process than others. You get to meet them in person, you get to prospect, and you get to market. We hit the fundamentals pretty hard, and it's something that maybe even experienced agents need to revisit.
Absolutely, I love that.
We gave three whole chapters to the database, and that's us being accountable. I can't tell you how long I've been saying your database is your business. Your database is your business. And we have courses on touch programs, but not really on how we groom and grow our database on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like this book represents the best we've ever done in articulating how to build your database in a simple way and how to manage it.
Love that. For a new agent, what is one of the key things that in regards to their database that they really, really need to make sure that they're doing on a regular basis?
Get out of sticky notes and get into the system. So it only takes about 30 minutes a week. I know that we live with sticky notes. I do too, right? We write it down, we drop it into our notes, but when is it actually making it into our database? So I've been super, super prescriptive over the last few years. I think Carolyn Woe, one of our top agents out in California, she's a luxury agent. Her mantra is show me you know me. So when it comes to our SOI, I'm almost compulsive now in opening up my contacts. If I'm ordering coffee with someone and I write down their coffee order, I'll just ask, is that your go-to coffee order or is that just something you're special having today? And if it's not their go-to coffee order, they'll tell me what it is. Then I just put it down. I try to collect little bits of specific knowledge about people. That's just one example that demonstrates that I know who they are. And the accountability factor for me was like, how is it that after 25 years of marriage to my wife, I'm not really certain what to order for her, and I have to ask her every time I go to the counter. Yes, she does like a lot of new things, so she changes it up. But there's about two things. I can now ask her, do you want the cappuccino or do you want the matcha? Because I know that those are her two go-to, and I can just at least narrow it down. Show me that you know me. So if we can collect these tidbits, it matters. I read probably in the 90s, a story about Conrad Hilton, the hotelier. And when he was just starting out, if someone ever mentioned their favorite flowers and he trained his staff to ask, if they said, oh, the flowers in the lobby are so beautiful, well, thank you so much. What are your favorite flowers? It wasn't a casual question. Because if they told them, the next time they checked into a room in that hotel, guess what they would find waiting for them? Their favorite flowers. They were looking for ways to do little touches, the show me, you know me's. And I think that's one way we can stand out. It's not about AI is going to take over so much. Managing our database, writing the stuff. How do we be more human interactions is actually going to help us stand out. And that comes from really showing that we're knowing. Nobody can remember it all, but your database can. So get that information from the sticky notes into the system so that you can tap into it. Like my dad, way back when, he was a great executive. He would take an index card and stick it in his coat pocket. And he would write down the names. He would get his wife, my mom, to help him. What was that couple's name? Like we were going into a Kiwanis meeting or a St. Jude fundraiser, he would think of all the people he was likely to see, and he would create like a little mini database on the card, and he would literally sometimes retreat into the bathroom to write on it as he learned new information. And that would all go into, back then, a Rolodex. But the people who succeed at the highest level with their networking are the ones who capture the most detail.
So what I'm hearing here is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
of course, we all know that statement, but how do we make that come alive?
Bingo. One thing we struggle with, or I hear a lot from agents. In fact, I've got a meeting with a new agent this afternoon, and her thing was, I've got all these amazing tools, but it feels so overwhelming. And I kind of refer to it as the fire hose effect. Because we do. I mean, KW with the training and just there's so many things that we offer. If you had to coach a brand new agent on the one thing in their first 90 days that they would really should focus on, what would that be?
Well, one foundational habit we believe in is goals before phones. So we do have a list of things that we have to knock out each week and each day, and our calendars often reflect it. But a lot of times we pick up our phones, we get lost in our text threads and all the urgent, the contractual stuff that we're doing, and we forget our obligations to ourselves and our business. So I just think when you start off and remind yourself, what are the things that I committed to doing today? What did I say yes to? Then it's a lot easier to say no to those distractions or delay them. Doesn't mean you're not going to do them, but you could drop 20 minutes into your inbox, push most of those things into the afternoon. Hey, my morning is full of appointments. I'm going to give you a thoughtful reply at noon. Most people don't care if your email is sitting or your text. They just want to know when you're going to reply. And the helpful thing is with iMessages, you can mark them as unread now. That used to not be possible. If you actually opened it, you had to address it or remember it. Now you can just mark it as unread and circle back to it after you've done your priorities. And the priorities every single day are going to be a little bit of lead gen. And you've got to do, I believe, a little bit of role play to practice your craft. The very top teams do that. And people are surprised, like, what do you mean they're still role playing? They've been doing this for 20 years. But they're doing it, if not daily, at least weekly with their teammates or their peers. Wendy's thing, she's got them, she's got these little bowls that she keeps on her desk, and she's got little jewels, if you can see that.
Yep.
And she'll have 2 bowls, and every day she has to move 5 of them from this bowl to the other. And that means that she had 5 real estate conversations that day. Super simple, but it's a form of accountability. Have I done the bare minimum? Have I reached my floor of my standard for lead gen every single day? Having something analog and physical is sometimes a really, really good thing to do. I had a friend that would hand someone, 10 pennies and say, I want these in your left pocket right now. Every time you have a real estate conversation, move one to your right pocket, and you can't leave the building until your right pocket is full. However you do it, whatever your cue is, get an abacus, I don't care, but track it. You also get this wonderful sense of progress in an industry where I'm having all these conversations, doesn't matter. They're like, wow, I did 5 or I did my 10 or whatever your standard is. And now you know you did your work. The payoff for those conversations doesn't sometimes come for years. But if you're not doing them, the payoff never shows up.
I love that. So when you said you've been doing this, started on this book, was it 3 years ago?
This book is really 10 years old.
Wow.
But in earnest, we've been working on it for about 3 years. That's about how long it takes from start to finish to make a great book. But we were doing the interviews for all of our MREA courses. We just always did them. We never stopped doing them. Probably do 100 a year. And I introduced that question, what did you do your first year that other agents don't? And it was a great icebreaker because successful agents, they get it. And they usually can articulate it really quickly. They think back, they get a little nostalgic about how they started. Oh man, I made all these mistakes. And then I did this. And that's when my career took off. And that's usually was kind of an icebreaker, but it also became a pattern. And we're like, wow, there's a book there. That's the book. And we're missing that piece of the puzzle. There's nothing on the bookshelf now that is what I would consider more than like a self-published book that truly serves the brand new agent. We can give them MREA. I love it from a mindset perspective, but tactically, that's not going to sell 3 houses in the first 120 days.
Got it. Okay. And it's broken out into, I think, is it 18 chapters altogether? But it's really like around 7 different modules. Is that correct?
We tried to stage it chronologically.
Okay.
A lot of our other books are staged around the way we think and act. Think $1 million, right? Earn $1 million. Right. And there's a logic to it, but we really tried to make it as simple as possible. This is for brand new agents. We know they're in overwhelm. So we're just walking them through the journey in chronological order. So mindset to basically, like, how do I understand the market? What does DOM stand for? Oh, days on market. And what do I do with it? So we walk them through some real fundamentals. And frankly, that chapter on the market is kind of a mini masterclass, right? Like, what is the 20% of reading the market that every agent should know? So we walk them through a lot of the unknowns, walk them through how the money works, right? It's the first time we've ever addressed broker splits in any book. And that took some work. There are a lot of brokers who didn't want that in there. And I get it, but we had to give them the real choice because people don't understand. They see the total commission. They don't understand how many forks are on that plate when they're trying to actually earn a living. And if you're on a team, you're on a split with a team, and you may have a brokerage cap to pay, and you've got the tax man to pay. So they have to learn how to actually understand their actual income as they're earning it so that they can actually budget for success. So we walk them through a lot of fundamentals before we get to the pick 2 or 3 ways to lead gen, focus on one primarily, SOI and database, and then here's the activities. And then In the second half, we talk about going on appointments, serving buyers and sellers, and closing the transaction. So it's very chronological, but one mantra that I would put out there that we all suffer from, this is a learning industry, especially new agents do a lot of just in case. I should know about this just in case it comes up. And we have to really pivot to a just-in-time learning model. You don't need to know how to do a seller consultation till you have a seller consultation scheduled. My wife's very first one, she stayed up most of the night watching videos of the McKissicks, right? Way back when, in 2009. But it was what she needed at the time. And learning it beforehand would have been a waste of time and taken her away from more valuable things. So think, how can I move my just-in-case mindset to a just-in-time mindset?
I love that. We got about 3 or 4 minutes left, Jay. Would it be okay if I kind of opened up the floor if people have some questions around the book? We've got almost 80 people on the call, which is fantastic. So if anybody's got something that they'd like to throw out at Jay, please come off mute. Love to hear what you guys are thinking. This is an excellent and rare opportunity.
Oh, it's always hard. I get it. Nobody wants to be first.
Yeah, it is always hard.
And I'm so intimidating and mean. I can see why people don't want to raise their hand.
What are your 3 top lead generation sources? If you was to go to a new market and start brand new, not know nobody at all.
So I think, you don't have an SOI in that new market, right? That's tough. That's one of the toughest. But we have a couple of case studies that we did. Suarez moved to Portland. It was brand new. And he realized, I can't work a database if I don't have one. So I'm going to go back to what I said. You need to find ways to meet people in person at scale. He chose open houses. I've also seen people do this with seminars and events. I know the Coalition Partners is a group of 3 businessmen in the DC area. Every day they look up, they look at all the public offerings, all the open meetings, Chamber of Commerce, whatever, and they go and they network with purpose. They're there to meet people, add them to their database, and potentially follow up and create appointments. I know people who've done this with first-time buyer seminars, seller seminars, whatever you call, and then the other one is open houses. Chris absolutely built his agent business on open houses because he knew every single week he could add 30 to 50 people with 2 open houses. He now met them personally. He can methodically follow up with them and build an SOI from scratch. So I would tell you, you need to find ways to get belly to belly with as many people as possible, as fast as possible, so that they know who you are and earn the right to follow up with them with phone calls, text, and emails, and of course, the TCPA compliant manner.
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Bill Weidecker, who's our OP, by the way, Jay, in our office.
Morning, Jay. Thanks for being with us.
Morning.
What about somebody who's been in the business 42 years and is tempted to buy this book? Where would we dive? Oops, I gave it away. If we were that person.
Well, Wendy Harrelson, right? She's one of our growth directors. She's told me she's buying 1,000 copies and she's going to give it to every agent who sold 4 or less houses in the last year in all of our market centers. Because these are the fundamentals, right? How do I design my week so that I can maximize success? The question we're trying to answer with this book isn't just to get out of the gate and succeed. It's really a book on how do I earn $100,000 in GCI in 12 months. And there's not a lot of things that you can do to make that happen. You would think it could be a smorgasbord of all the things that you can do, but it comes down to about, I think we only give 7 options on the lead gen, and you just have to do a little bit of math. What's the minimum standard if I'm doing these 2 or 3 things that will create the energy that will generate that $100,000 in income, which, by the way, every single time someone's asked me to work out, let's do the economic model. What do you want to make as your income target? Doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing, they all want to know how to make $100,000. A lot of us have not achieved that in our business with sustainability. So come on, it's 250 pages. The audio book will be out this fall too. Dive in and ask, where are my gaps? For most of them, it's going to be in the database. They're not methodically doing just a couple of things, as boring as they may be, doing those touches on a daily basis. You can do it with text messages, you can do it with DMs. I don't care how you do it, but are you reaching out and having those 2-way conversations? If you do that, if you only did that, like we call it, the quarterly call, you hit your top 150 people in your database 4 times a year, you're going to sell a ton of houses. It's hard not to. The problem is most people, that methodical, how do I talk to 30 or 40 people this week and then next week, they haven't built the habit of doing it. But that singular habit is something I see again and again in our top listing agents. And they don't just sell houses, they list houses. I know
love
that's
that.
like, God, I've heard that a million times. Can't you tell me something new? No. Until you're doing the basics, I'm not going to tell you anything new.
I love that. Absolutely. So we are up on time. I see that Arthur put the link in there for the Keller Inc. product. What is the best way for people to reach out and pre-order that book, Jay?
You got two ways. You can order it like on any bookseller that you like. Keller Inc. obviously is our internal sales department. If you're going to be buying for your team or your office, I hope you'll buy it there. It will be, when you think about shipping, it's going to be the cheapest way. Here's the end around. If you just can't wait, I think we're going to have about 500 copies at Mega Camp, and I'm going to do a book signing in San Antonio. So if you really, really just don't want to wait, that'll be one place you can go get one.
There you go. Okay. Hey, well, I want to respect everybody's time. Jay, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Mel, I appreciate
Good morning,
you
everybody. Thank you for turning on your camera so we can see your smiling faces early in the morning.
This is the most smiling faces we've ever had on Morning Mindset, I think. So I'm excited about that. Jay, thanks again. Appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to talking soon.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Have
guys.
a great day.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Tony.
Bye-bye.